Dan McCole, past State Commander.
Remember us. Memorial Day is a day of tears. For us who died over all the years, we fought in wars to keep you free. Now we lay in graves for you to see. The tears you shed are tears of pride for every soldier fighting side by side. Alive or dead, we proved our worth in the closest thing to hell on earth. We were different, one and all, but in times of need, we heard the call. Brothers all, for country's sake, we may bend but never break. So remember us and say a prayer for all the soldiers everywhere. For those of us who got the call, please pray that God will bless us all. Thank you.
Landers Field by Janet Meyer.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow. Loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with a foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Today, we honor the men and women who gave up their place at the table of life so we might have ours. It began at that rude bridge between Lexington and Concord, and that sorrowful list of the fallen has continued through too many years, even as we speak. When will man's inhumanity to man ever cease? I've seen their crosses and stars of David in Europe. I've walked humbly through Arlington Cemetery and the Punch Bowl Cemetery in Hawaii. More than 200,000 markers stretch to the horizon. Here and throughout the world, the flower of our youth lies sealed on the cold, unforgiving sod, along perhaps with the cure for cancer and other disabilities. The war for the greatest generation, as Tom Brokaw called this, began with the bombing of Pearl Harbor. I was rooming here in Branchville working on selective risk with Lou Bloomer, the grandson of D.L.B. Smith, who started Selective Insurance. He wanted me to join the Marines, and I say, "Why the Marines?" And he said, "Because they dress so nicely." And I said, "I was partial to the Navy." He said, "Oh no," he said, "they wear those monkey suits." There were 5 boys my age involved with our local one-day horse show. I was before the fair became the fair. The fair didn't come into being until 1940 when they brought in the cattle. Before that, it was just the Branchville Riding Club who used to have their own little show. But there were 5 of us the same age, and we all enlisted. Billy Sanford was killed in Holland with the 82nd Airborne. Phil Ayers in a military plane crash. His father, R.D. Ayers, was a freeholder for many years here in the county. George Whitmore did his years in the Army and survived, came home, and died shortly thereafter on the operating table. Lou Plummer was in the 5th Division, the 28th Marines, 28th Regiment. They were the ones who raised the flag at Suribachi. He died on the 22nd of February, 1945, leaving a 2-month-old daughter he never saw. She comes to the fair every year because he was always so much a part of it. I was from 1942 to 1946. And then perhaps, as an obligation to my friends who didn't return, was in the active reserve during Korea and the Vietnam Wars. Our Navy Transport Squadron, BR 934, took Navy SEALs to Vietnam, some of them on their second tour in harm's way, since there were only 2,000 SEALs in the Navy. There is something about the SEALs that is close to home. Jason Mortimer went to Pingree in Martinsville with my grandson Billy. His mother's a friend of my daughter Karen, and we have met both Jason and his mother a number of times. Jason then graduated from Minneapolis and went into the SEALs. He's a senior lieutenant and was in charge of that sniper team that eliminated the pirates and freed the U.S. ship's captain they had kidnapped. Jason is a New Jersey boy and one we can really be proud of. I'm happy to be his friend. Read, if you will, and probably some of you have, Flags of Our Fathers by James Radley. His dad was one of the 6 who raised the flag at Suribachi, which is now a national monument. He tells the tragic and terrible story of the battle with his 2x5 volcanic island, fortified by concrete and steel pillboxes. There were 16 miles of tunnels connected those boxes. There were rooms 75 feet deep in the rock, with a 400-bed hospital, and every inch of the island was mapped for crossfire. Heavy guns in Suribachi could be fired and pulled back into caves. Flawed intelligence estimated 13,000 Japanese troops, but in reality there were 22,000. The Japanese general boasted it could not be taken in 1,000 years. It was to be hit by naval gunfire for 7 days, but the admirals, to our shame, pulled out after 2.5 days, doing very little damage to the fortifications. The first wave of Marines was literally cut to ribbons. They were just annihilated. The second wave walked on the bodies of their comrades. The volcanic sand made it difficult to dig foxholes. Wounded Marines in litters on the beach, and people in landing boats to retrieve them were slaughtered. They estimated the island could be taken in a week. It took over a month, and the dead totaled nearly 6,000. The wounded, 14,000. It was one of the most deadly and costly battles of the war. It took 22 Navy transports to bring the Marines to the island, but only 8 to bring them back. Valor and sacrifice beyond